Hey, remember JoCat? The guy who made...
I like big girls, pretty kitty girls, really
It's a
witty
pretty
girls, singing
wholesome,
ditty
silly
tunes,
little
I like the witty
animation
girls
about
with the nice
appreciating
style.
women
I
of
like a
different
good
kinds.
chest, no
But
matter what
according to
size.
the
I like the belly
darkest,
folds, I
dirtiest
like the
parts
six
of
packs,
Twitter,
really tall
this is
queens, short
misogynistic
snouts.
gooner
From the
bait,
mild
which
girls
of
to the
course
wild
is
girls. You got
BS.
style girls, make 'em round girls.
This is well-established JoCat lore, so I'm gonna keep it short. Basically, Twitter hates his guts for this, and every once in a while there's this new wave of hate for him. At one point, JoCat even considered quitting YouTube when his family was put in danger after getting doxxed by one of these Twitter freaks. But despite all this, JoCat stayed, and he continued making his good vibe content. Let's fast forward to now. JoCat made an art piece again about appreciating women of all types, and again Twitter lost their shit. Basically the same thing, calling him a misogynistic gooner, but this time with a little extra spice. His silly little art piece apparently encourages devaluing women as hentai categories. I mean, just look at these depraved sexual acts like going to the aquarium, reading a book, playing video games, working out, and the most lewd of all, having a match of tabletop Warhammer. Oh, how scandalous. Also, some people got mad saying this right here is fat fetish art, which is just really funny to me. Somebody tried to spread fake tweets, which would be funny if people didn't believe it so easily. Oh, and there were people trying to insinuate that he was a pedo for, actually they didn't have any point. They just said he was a pedo to make him look bad. Talk about lazy, at least put the effort into making fake allegations. That's like Twitter 101. Come on, guys. Lastly, my favorite one, people calling him a gay slur. I didn't know liking women was gay. Really makes you think. And liking women isn't the only reason JoCat has gotten harassment. During the VTuber war known as the Hogwarts Legacy controversy, JoCat donated to trans charities and made some tweets in support of trans people who are struggling, and this pissed off Twitter a lot. They hated him because in their head, trans people are the enemy. They are the degenerates who are attacking streamers. You see, the average Twitter user is too stupid to comprehend the fact that trans people are capable of independent thought. If a small vocal minority were assholes, that means all of them are assholes. Thus, openly supporting trans people is a sign that this person in turn supports the harassment that occurred, according to their primitive logic. You see, in reality, someone could choose not to play a game for their own personal beliefs, and that does not make them a horrible person who thinks doxing is cool. Now that this is established, I can proceed to the main reason I wanted to make this video. Everyone meet Sensei of the past. I will be roasting him pretty hard in this section, and I think what he said is incredibly scummy. But he is nothing special. Twitter users like him are a dime a dozen. He just so happened to have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm saying this because I don't want people attacking him. It's not worth it. Chances are he's only doing this for the attention anyway. During this new wave of JoCat hate, Sensei over here decided to jump in with his own attempt at getting him cancelled. I'll show you the thread and even read out some of it to give you the full picture. People go after JoCat for his lejos memes, specifically because even people who don't know that he's rotten to the core can tell that something is off. When a bad person spans nice guy persona, the red flag is intrusively obvious to everyone. Okay, so he thinks JoCat is secretly this horrible person who's, I quote, rotten to the core, but hides it under his wholesome mask. Okay, let's see what evidence he has to prove this claim. First is a screenshot of JoCat's girlfriend positively talking about him. In the following screenshot, she half-jokingly mentions how JoCat wouldn't like someone supporting the Wizard game. Okay, so someone who wasn't JoCat said he probably doesn't like someone supporting a game that conflicts with his personal beliefs, and this is meant to make JoCat look bad? That's dumb. Anyway, off to the next one. No amount of look how much of a unproblematic generic man I am will erase this. Okay, much better this time. Finally, JoCat actually having a bad take. Let's dissect it.
Anyone shouting about the harassment is taking the topic of conversation and focus away from the main issue. Trans people are still in danger. Specifically, the harassment faced by content creators is not, nor should it be, about us. Content creators are not in the same danger that trans people are.
Sensei's interpretation is that this is a clear sign of JoCat downplaying the harassment campaign against Pikami and Silvervale in a way to show support for said harassment since they played the dreaded wizard game. The comments below his post for the most part agree with his interpretation. However, since Sensei provided no context whatsoever, it means we have nothing to go off of other than the narrative he's trying to push. Not to worry, you can fairly easily find the original tweet JoCat made and read the context yourself. Just click on his account and scroll down from February 23rd to March 23rd. You can read the timeline of events yourself. Basically, a few days after the release of the Wizard game, JoCat decided to do charity streams in support of trans people. This first occurred on February 18th and continued for multiple days. At this point, he was very quiet about the controversy, never mentioning it and instead focusing on his own personal projects. On March 2nd, JoCat gets a hate raid during one of his ongoing charity streams. The chatter berated JoCat as a supporter of harassment despite the fact that he has never said any such thing. I highly recommend pausing and reading JoCat's response as I think it's pretty great. Not only does it explicitly say he does not support the harassment towards people who do not share the same views as him, but also says that people are free to decide not to support him if they feel like it. Hardly sounds like the rotten to the core monster that Sensei painted him as. On March 3rd, we get the infamous tweet. However, on closer inspection, this seems very clearly referring to the hate raid that happened yesterday rather than a response to VTubers getting harassed in general. JoCat's follow-up tweet within the same day proves this. I highly recommend pausing and reading as it's pretty great too. So now we know the real context. JoCat was donating to a trans lifeline, which is an organization that helps trans people struggling with suicide. He was then hate raided and accused of supporting harassment. He got mad, made a tweet to vent his frustration at the people arguing about the Hogwarts Legacy controversy, taking away attention from saving lives via the charities such as the one he was currently donating to. Later that day, after cooling his head, he makes a follow-up tweet that more properly addresses the situation. Then, a year later, Sensei decides to take this tweet, strip it of all its original meaning, and push a blatant lie that this is JoCat supporting harassment. Also, he could get some attention on Twitter during some stupid fucking Twitter drama that doesn't fucking matter. And Sensei is not alone. Like I said earlier, these people are like a dime a dozen. Take Give Me Banhammer for example. He basically regurgitated Sensei's thread nearly word for word on his account because he's just that epic and original. And so did many others. You'd be surprised how easy it is for people to fall for this bullshit. Take this comment by Rev Says Desu. You know, one of the most influential VTuber commentary channels there is. Rev over here was instantly convinced. Could you imagine if he used Sensei as a source in a video dunking on JoCat? Thousands of people lied to and encouraged to hate an innocent man because someone forgot to check the context of a tweet. Hey Rev, if you are watching, don't let Twitter freaks manipulate you like this. Use that noggin of yours. Be better, please. It is a fact that JoCat did not nor ever show any support for harassment. He has said this so many times. Saying otherwise is a delusional lie. The big hateful rift between VTubers who played Hogwarts Legacy and those who didn't doesn't exist with him. Silvervale has openly said she supports LGBT rights on her stream multiple times. Her and JoCat even follow each other to this very day. I would like to talk a little bit about my own personal experience. I was there during the controversy, fighting in the trenches. I've seen horrible things that genuinely scarred me. You see, I am a Silvervale fan. She's incredibly sweet and I passionately defended her. I spent days researching, recording, and editing a video where more than half of it was debunking and exposing the bullshit thrown at her and Pikami. But people seem to have forgotten how brutal the fighting was. There was a drastic increase in trans hate at that time, and it went completely overshadowed. You can watch the old video if you want, as it does show many examples of exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not even trans, yet I myself was sent a death threat. In retrospect, it was pretty stupid, and I wish I screenshot it before the account got suspended. It was one of those transphobic wojaks hanging themselves, and he was saying I should kill myself too while bringing up suicide rates. This wasn't uncommon. A lot of people got death threats and hate regardless of their stance on that wizard game. The worst one, I think, was how there were multiple people sending pictures of mutilated penises to trans and trans-supportive VTubers. There were different ones, but the one I remember was of a botched transition surgery that shows someone's genitals being ripped open with blood dripping everywhere. This was done as an attempt to scare the victim as well as show how deeply repulsive they think their existence to be. And yes, this is real. I've seen it with my own eyes. I still remember which VTubers it was too. Don't forget about what happened. Don't let people warp and twist the narrative to push their agenda. The Hogwarts Legacy controversy was horrible, and a lot of good people from all sides had to suffer through it. Never forget that. We should do our best to make sure something like this will never happen again. And to see this little shit trying to encourage hate towards someone for attention pisses me off, especially when he used Pikami's name to justify it. Hey Smooth Brain, you do know that both Pamu and Pikami have said that her rebrand was planned before the controversy, right? What is this 9/11 Facebook post looking ass tweet? Henya is right over there. She's made a new happy life for herself with lots of friends and even rekindled old friendships. Henya is the most wholesome VShojo member. I love every time Zen and her collab. It's such a blast. She is so adorable. And here you are acting like she's dead, reminding everyone that trans people took her away and why we should hate them for it. If you really cared about Pikami, why didn't you give Henya a shout out? Why not send a little positivity her way? You're not very good at lying, are you, Sensei? You're not a real Pikami fan. You're more like a parasite, leeching off of her trauma for your own clout. You disgust me. Oh my god! It's been over a year and people are still arguing about that wizard game. Like bro, the war is over. Everyone went home and moved on with their lives. And here you are still bitching about it for likes. Reminds me of that one Japanese soldier who refused to surrender after World War II ended, but instead of a badass fascist Japanese man living in the jungle, it's an incel on Twitter. Anyway, let's see what Sensei said to defend himself after I brought this info to his attention.
Curious just how mentioning the harassment of VTubers over the wizard game immediately spawns dozens of bots and activists in the replies.